We introduced two new city indices in this year's edition of GCI. And the city indices are motivated by the notion that a lot of globalization is actually happening through cities. In other words, two of the big trends of our time are globalization and urbanization. What we did for the city indices was essentially parallel the methodology we used to calculate intensity of connectedness at the country level. So rather than looking at everything that happens within a city, we were explicitly focused on cities' interactions with the rest of the world. And while we present two indices, one called Globalization Giants and one called Globalization Hotspots, the Hotspots Index is the more novel one and the one that more closely follows our country-level methodology, because there, instead of looking at the absolute amount of a city's interactions with the rest of the world, we actually normalize by city size. And this leads to some quite surprising results. So perhaps it's not that surprising that Singapore ends up topping the Global Hotspots Index, and a lot of this, of course, has to do with Singapore's role as a shipping hub in the Southeast Asian region. But perhaps more surprising to many people will be the notion that Manama, the capital of Bahrain, showed up as number 2 on our Global Hotspots Index, and that has to do a combination of trade, capital, people, and information flows across all those different dimensions. And so while there are lots of rankings of the most global cities that look at absolute interactions and that are not that dissimilar to our Globalization Giants ranking, our Globalization Hotspots ranking is really quite different and suggests a different kind of focus on the urban environments that really are the most intensely engaged in globalization.